Let's go ahead and look at some of the class tuning. So I actually probably just look at the Blizzard post. I briefly looked at this yesterday. I have not read this in depth at all. I saw the augmentation stuff, and I think I completely ignored everything else. So let's see where we're at. So Demon Hunter, many talents have changed locations and or available connections. We'll have to look at that. Actually, let me ask. I should have a message from someone in not too long about how they feel about a lot of these changes. So new talent, Champion of the Glaive. Throw Glaive has 2 charges and has a 10-yard increased range. That's interesting. I'm assuming this is in the class tree. Yeah, it is. Okay, I don't know about that. I'll get back on that in a second. So this is interesting. So Fodder the Flame and Unleash Power have been removed. So Fodder the Flame was like really... It was liked because it was powerful and you always took it. But then they tried to make it more deterministic so you could actually have it during your cooldowns and have it be less random. They like tied it into Spectral Sight. It got like really mixed reviews. Some of it made sense. A lot of it was, you know, kind of annoying. And then they just decided to actually remove it. So I don't know what they actually ended up replacing with it, but not speaking for Demon Hunters here. I'm just speaking for myself. That actually sounds good to me. I've always thought fodder was like a really, really weird damage thing. Like at worst, it was just like super random. I guess like thematic obviously is cool. You're like killing a demon. If in Design World, when you remove something like this and you put the power into other things, that version of DH sounds better to me. Obviously, if you're playing Demon Hunter and you're like, okay, well, fodder's just gone and we got nothing to replace that, then it's going to feel like you're just weaker, and that feels bad. But purely design, I think fodder was a little bit off. So I'm okay with them getting rid of that. Chaos Nova cooldown reduced to 45 seconds, was 1 minute, and its Fury cost was reduced, just passive. Okay. Concentrated Sigils no longer increases the sigil duration by 2 seconds. Okay, so that was the one thing that they I think they added that recently, where it like did something else and they added the 2-second duration. Or is that an old thing? Am I right in thinking that this was like a thing that they added to this patch? They added concentrated sigils, or at least they added the 2-second duration to it, or is it an old thing? It's something else. I'm thinking of something else, or is it precise sigils? This is the thing I think they maybe added, but then added the 2-second thing. There's something that did this that didn't before. But either way, it looks like they removed like 4 seconds of sigil durations with talents. I'm assuming that's to kind of curb the power of the defensive value of Flame Sigil now, as well as obviously super, super broken ones like Silent Sigil and stuff. What is the duration of Silent Sigil now with this? Oh, they were both separate, so you could only get 2. But by removing both of these, does this make it so Silent Sigil is actually 2 seconds longer or 2 seconds shorter of a silence? Oh, there's no point in taking those talents now? Oh, you mean like you took them before, but you won't take them now? I'll look at that in a second. Okay, Live by the Glaive value increased to 4%, max health was 2. Okay, I need to pull this up. When you parry an attack or have one of your attacks parried, restore 4% max health and 10 fury can only occur once every 5 seconds. So when this said 2%, I thought this was like completely useless, but 4%? This is one of the things where you'll never actually feel this, but it's like as a Vengeance Demon Hunter, throughout the whole key, you might like look at your healing breakdown and see that like this is just a larger portion than what you'd think. But at the same time, it's like not super interesting, right? And then it has like almost no value for Havoc, unless you have like the freest points in the world that like randomly when you get parried, you actually heal yourself. Which like Havoc could definitely use some self-healing. They lost a lot of that this expansion, so highly doubt you'll take that though still. Even for Vengeance, probably. Also, just in general, flat passive heals on a class like Warrior would actually feel excellent, right? But flat passive heals on a class like Demon Hunter or DK, which scales a lot of their healing. They heal much more than the other specs, and they also, that healing scales on the damage they take. Things like this, just as a concept, aren't ever really good enough because of that interaction. It just feels useless, so... you want to be in control of your healing, right? And then even if it's just extra, it's not like actually helping you, usually. Okay, Havoc. Many talents have changed locations or turned into choice nodes. Okay, what are new choice nodes? So this was a choice node before. That was a choice node. That was a choice node. This is the PTR version. Oh, so it looks like here. I'm assuming this. I don't recognize this. Again, I haven't played it as much. Okay, so a couple of choice nodes at the bottom. Okay, so those 3 so now it's that Chaos Theory now has a choice node with Glaive Tempest. Okay, so clearly a single target and AoE option. Middle one has Inner Demon, which is just going in demon form. Oh, makes your Chaos Strike AoE, and then the other one is Leaving demon form grants a charge of Fell Rush and increases damage next Blade Dance. Okay, and then the one on the right, which used to just be the Throw Glaive thing, I think, which is, this is Bloodlet, right? Yeah. They gave Bloodlet a option that turns it into just a passive where Chaos Strike is just roughly going to just do 10% more damage. Okay. Okay, well, that's most of the stuff it looks like that's changed, although I could take another look at it. Oh, they moved Fell Barrage over to here. They moved, okay, Rage Fire's there, and I believe they capped Fell Barrage. Yeah, that's here. We'll get into that in a second. Okay, so Bloodlet renamed again. Initiative's critical strike bonus was reduced to 10%. That's fine. I will say, Initiative is actually something on DH that feels really good, so I wouldn't want them to make it feel less impactful. It's actually, you know what? With the way that they're like kind of changing momentum and which is now it's like turbo permanent, right? Like Initiative was where you kind of felt that burst that old momentum gave you. And now Inertia exists. Don't know if you play this, but it's okay for this to be less impactful. There's more impactful things. I can kind of see that. But this is basically just like the Night Fae Soulbind, which was really, really fun. So hope that remains good. Fell Barrage is a max duration of 8 seconds, was uncapped. Love that. So this was doing like hella damage, but people weren't taking it because they were just playing other things. But generally speaking, I'm a big fan of this. I think all technically infinite duration things, if the design is, oh, you can spend resource, or you can generate resource to increase this thing forever, it goes from being something cool for the first like 8 to 10 seconds to something that just defines everything you're doing for, in Frosty K's case, minutes at a time. I personally am a fan of Breath, but I also think Breath would be better if it was just a burst cooldown. Like, if Breath was just basically, for 15 to 20 seconds, you fucking owned, it still had a skill variant, you had to try to keep it up, but you only did that for, 20 seconds at a time instead of 2 minutes. But then, obviously, your damage outside of that spell would have to be more interesting and better to make up for that. Like, I've always thought that really the biggest issue with Breath is that it's like you don't really have a choice, and it's just that whole, oh, let's spend my resource to keep this thing up, or generate resource, is just forever. And that's not fun when it's forever, but it's really fun in short bursts. So Fell Barrage capping it, I think, is really smart, as long as they make it still skillful to actually get to 8 seconds. It would be, this is a bad change if Fell Barrage being 8 seconds is actually free as fuck. But when I played with this, it didn't seem like that was true. You have to kind of do like this really weird rotation of abilities to actually get it to last like a super long period of time, and I'm a fan of this. And if it's free as fuck, make it a little bit less free but more powerful, or extend it by a couple seconds to where it's not free. That's my only thought. I really, like, because if it's just free as fuck, then why can't it be extended at all, Just make it a flat duration again, I like what they're doing with it. I would just like it to be there to be some transfer of skill giving you power, so it not being free, but it not being something that defines your whole rotation, if possible. Again, my opinion, but okay, they changed the 2 set again. Blade Dance consumes a charge of Throw Glaive to fire at your primary target for 100% damage, and each slash has a 50% chance to throw a glaive for 35% damage. I don't remember. Okay, so I'm kind of getting lost at exactly what part of this is redesigned, because I swear I've read Havoc 2-piece has been redesigned like 3 weeks in a row. But if I'm just erasing everything from my brain that I've read about this before, and I'm just reading this for the first time, this seems good. This seems really fun. The reason they're having consume a charge is so people are complaining about using Throw Glaive in their rotation. You would probably want this so you don't have to press Throw Glaive, but you're still getting the value of all the talents that are associated with it, and you don't actually have to press the button in the thing. And then the whole like Blade Dance slash having a chance to high roll some extra glaives sounds fucking sick. Again, I'm like ignoring everything that's been happened before this. This sounds fucking awesome. My only thought is, if you are using the 2-piece to solve the problem of DHs not wanting to press Throw Glaive on single target, it is okay right now to solve that with a tier piece. If that is a recurring problem, you can't just make another tier set not include this, which it most likely won't, and then go back to it being the problem, right? So my only thought is solve the problem of people clearly not wanting to press Throw Glaive, especially on single target, permanently instead of with tier, which is fine if they're doing a tier for now, but like just do one of those things where you figure out a way to figure that out. You have 6 months to figure this out, right? So I'm scarred from classes I've played solving problems with tier pieces instead of just like every Windwalker Monk tier piece just has to buff the fuck out of Fist of Fury or Rising Sun Kick, or else those abilities just don't do the damage they should do, and that just has me tilted off the planet. Just a thought. Okay, Amir Drasil, the Dream's Hope. 4-set bonus has been updated. Throw Glaive reduces the remaining cooldown of the hunt by 2 seconds, and I'm assuming that each one of these little fucking baby Throw Glaives that has a chance to proc are actually also going to do that. You were dude, this makes me want to play Demon Hunter. The whole idea of like slamming the hunt, and the hunt also being like, I think they buffed it a little bit. Maybe it was like nerfed because of some interaction, but I love fuzzing the hunt. So okay, Evade did give me some feedback. So I asked how Evade was feeling about Havoc now, and he said a little better and a little worse. I love that Fodder is gone. I love that Fell Barrage is a max duration. There's just still stuff you're forced to take due to pathing reasons and tier set reasons, which makes things a lot less interesting. But again, to me, as long as I can avoid the unfun talents and can take the fun talents, then I think the spec is solid, just up to tuning for that. I have a lot more nuanced takes on the minor details of it all, but I assume you're mainly curious about the big picture stuff. Yeah, he's exactly right. Yeah, that's great. As the Havoc thing gets closer to being remade, maybe we can get some more nuanced takes on the small things. We're just not going to do that right now. Okay, Vengeance, let's see. A few talents have changed locations. So Vengeance has been a lot different. I've heard from a few people before this post that they were kind of clunky, but clearly like had a lot of power added. It was just like weird that basically you wanted to use Sigil of Flame to like pick stuff up as you're moving around and grabbing packs to like stack them together. But like that's also the spell you need for mitigation now because that mitigation is so strong. But like in a perfect world, obviously it's like just better, but let's see. A few people, Dorky now, said the same thing. Let's see. So a few talents have changed. I'm not super familiar with the talent positioning, so I'm not even going to look at this. But sheer damage increase, Fracture looks like they increase the damage of a lot of things, especially Throglaive. I like Throglaive damage increase because Vengeance Demon Hunters need a spell to get Snap Threat on a pack. Throglaive clearly seems like it's that button. Like it's kind of like an AoE, what's that DK button? Death's Caress, right? How you would use that to pull like one target or something in the past. Like it would be great if Demon Hunters wanted to like get Snap Threat on a pack as they're grouping and they just hit like a little Throglaive on it. 30% probably isn't enough to actually make that matter, but would love that. Calcified Spikes now provides its benefit if Demon Spikes is refreshed in addition to when it expires. Oh, was that how that worked before? You actually had to let your Demon Spikes fall off to get the benefit of this instead of refreshing it? Okay, so like obviously if this is a change to that, that sounds great, but fucking wild that was the case. That is terrible gameplay. I haven't played Vengeance this expansion, but that sounds so bad to play with. You would fucking cancel Aura it? That is trash. This is a trash that was the case. Good that they fixed it. Better late than never, but yeah. Demon Spikes can no longer be canceled. Perfectly fine. I don't even see a reason why to do this because you wouldn't actually cancel it now that this works like this. But yeah, I mean, that's fine. Meteoric Strikes now reduces the cooldown of Infernal Strike by 10 seconds was 8. Okay, Fell Flame Fortification reduces magic damage while Immora is like 12. Okay, some defensive buffs to magic specifically. Feast of Souls healing value is increased by 100% and no longer has an additional tick. Feast of Souls was the whatever the opposite of Spirit Bomb Pain Spender is. Wait, is it even called Pain anymore? Do they just use the same resource as Havoc and I've been calling it Pain for years? That's just dawning on me, but also fine if that's the case. Soul Cleave heals you for an additional 100% of attack power over 6 seconds. So wait, they made this twice as good, but it no longer has an initial tick. I mean, so it's just that's just a buff to that spell by a lot. I don't know how Demon Hunter plays right now. Do you weave in Spirit Bombs with Soul Cleaves, or is this something you take when you don't take Spirit Bomb? Bulk Extraction cooldown reduced to 1 minute was 1 minute and 30 seconds. That was one of the old this thing. Demolish Spirit of those around you, fire damage, extracting up to drawing them to you. Okay, so it's like a 1 minute cooldown full heal basically if you're getting owned. So reduced to 1 minute. I don't even know that also. I wonder if that does enough damage, but. And that's on the same thing as Soul Barrier. Okay. Soul Barrier's absorb values are also buffed by 30%. Fiery Demise now increases your fire damage delta enemies affected by 25 to 50. So just a buff to fire damage from Fiery Brand and then Focus Cleave. Okay, so just buffs all around the board for Vengeance, yeah? So hopefully that makes it less clunky. We'll find out this weekend. I'm sure they'll play it a lot. Balanced Star Surge damage increased by 6 and shooting stars by 15. Okay, that's pretty good. Guardian. Oh, okay, this is interesting. I wish it always had the old value so I could see what they're redesigning it to. Slightly redesigned. Rage you spend during Rage of Sleeper fuels the growth of Dream Thorns. That's the same. Which Rethene their protection after this expires. That's the same. Absorbing a percentage of damage dealt to you while the thorns remain up to a value of per rage spent. Well, so it was 10% of damage and then that was weird and then they buffed it to 25. Now, so I'm assuming it's still 25 and now it's the only thing that's different is just how much rage you spent determines how big your absorb is total. Oh, it's not from armor, damage, or healing anymore. It's now rage spent. I kind of like that. Feels bad to have a rage spent thing on a tier piece right after they nerfed the fuck out of your rage generation, but and just a small thing with Guardian Druids. So So they nerfed Guardian to the infinite scaling of their rage gen on a bunch of targets was nerfed. I actually am somewhat okay with that. It felt bad because there was nothing else given back in return. Like your Incarn is obviously a much longer cooldown now because you're just generating and spending less rage. You feel less invincible on big packs. I'm actually okay with them capping that at 5 or 8. I don't know which one it's at now, but preferably 8. I think it's 5. I will take a cap to Guardian Rage massive generation and AoE for some buffs in single target or 2 target. The one thing I've noticed while doing some 29s and 30s in Bear this year or this season is how it feels when you're tanking one mob versus like 10 is crazy. Like it's infinitely less fun and more dangerous. Like you would probably take like any amount of ads on top of whatever you're tanking just to feel safer. It's very strange. So I hope they do something for that. Because again, when you're talking about design changes, things like that are okay, where you feel like the rage generation in mass AoE is too much. I think that's probably true, but it just, no one's going to like when that's removed and there's nothing else to compensate when there's clear deficiencies. Okay, let's get to the big one. Augmentation. Our goal with these changes is to reduce the power of stacking as many augmentation buffs as possible on the same 4 targets in raid scenarios. We want to support having multiple aug evokers in a raid, but also prevent having 4 of them feel required to do max damage. By forcing these buffs to spread themselves out, it should still be viable to have multiple aug evokers without being overpowered. Okay, so they basically killed 4 aug. There's still a world where you could... Well, okay, so we haven't even gotten into what they've actually changed yet, but just as a general thing. So 4 aug is something that was very possible. In fact, we had multiple off-stream raids where... you know, we were using 4 augs in farm, so we could, you know, we wouldn't want to run into a situation where you had to run 4 augs in progression and then we weren't good at it. We have to be the best at everything we do, right? So we were making ways to make that less cringe and figure out ways to actually play around it and stuff like that, which is cringe. I mean, no one hopes that is the case. But this was super fucking annoying, and there's a couple things they did that basically kills the fuck out of it. The reason that 4 augs was so powerful in raid was multiplicative scaling. By getting the shifting sands on the people who were quadruple aug buffed was just like unable to compete with anything else. In my opinion, Blizzard made a good move by nerfing it. There's going to be no way for them to tune around it just because of the multiplicative scaling. So let's look at something like, here, let's go to speed rankings for guilds real quick. So a lot of people haven't like unlocked the full power of aug because they haven't really spent time in maxing it. We spent a lot of time in maxing it. Because, you know, that's what we do. Okay, so you look at, like, guild speed. So let's look at, like, a speed kill of, I don't know, like a Rashok or something. I don't want to pick a top kill because they'll kill it, like, a little too fast. But let's look at, like, this Vodka, right? So Vodka killed it. All right, so what you want to do... Ebon Might isn't exactly 30 seconds. But let's just assume that it is, you know, every 30 seconds. We'll just look at every 30-second window, right? So on the pull, let's ignore the augs. People who are owning on the poll for this guild, Otzi, Mad the Lock, Bob Mara, and this monk. But then you're not going to want to buff those people the whole fight, right? You're going to want to go from 30 seconds to a minute. Well, who's the best people to have Ebon Might during this window? Oh, it's exactly these 2 or 4 people, right? You go from a minute to a minute and 30. Who has like strong 1 minute cooldowns, right? Clearly Red Paladin, clearly Enhance, right? They have like good damage all the time. Mage. So the reason why multiplicative scaling Aug Evoker was so insane was because you were able to pick the exact people who do the best damage in every window of the fight, and you get their damage, right? So let's just say there's a world where Frost DK was actually the best damage in the game, and they were just the best single target by far, and better than Unholy. You would still play Unholy. You want to know why? Because where Frost would actually shine on a lot of these kills is they would be really, really high up during every single time frame. But when you're running 4 Aug Evokers, that's actually not very good. Well, I mean, it's fine, but what you'd rather have is Unholy on the pull. Unholy still beats every class in the game on the pull. Maybe that's changed with some of the demo changes that happened today. I'm pretty sure that's not the case. But Unholy beats every class in the game on the pull. So what you actually want is you want a comp that, like, with 4 Augs at least, now that this is dead, you would want a comp that excels at certain time frames. So, like, for example, Unholy just does 3 minutes and the opener better than everyone else. So even if Frost was overall better, you would play Unholy because it just gives Augs a better target during certain parts of the fight. And then when you have downtime, it doesn't really matter because they can just buff someone else. So yeah, that was super interesting to play around. I'm glad that it is mostly dead now. I think this was probably coming as well, we never really saw how they expected Aug to be played in a raid. They released it in the middle of the patch for a reason. They nerfed it to 4 Augs or 4 Ebon Mites as soon as they saw like a clip of someone killing Assault of the Zakali in like 20 seconds. We never really saw what they wanted. 4 is what we were practicing for because what they changed, but at any point they could have changed this. I think this is a really good way to do it, and more specifically, Aug was really annoying to play in raid. So I sent them a fucking dissertation about this. I wonder if I can screenshot it. So I sent them this. So obviously you guys know there's a Race World First Discord. It's where a lot of information is given out to all the guilds at the same time, but it's also places for us to give them feedback. And this is feedback that I just directly gave them. But making Aug Evoker the same or lower priority for healer for proximity-based Ebon Mites. It would make raid Aug Evoker 10 times less annoying, especially the average player. In heroic raids next tier with 3 or 4 of them, they will be buffing each other on accident and doing 10 to 30% less damage and value. Here's how it works right now. This is before the patch today. Excluding presence, proximity Ebon Mites will go to the nearest DPS if at 0. Any DPS without Ebon Mite, including augmentation, then healer. It should be nearest DPS if at 0, any DPS without Ebon Mite, healer if at 0, and then Aug, or even Aug at the same level as healer. Aug is by far the lowest value person to receive another Evoker's Ebon Mite, so it makes running multiple of them a pain. This is all assuming that this isn't intentional to make stacking them hard, but I figured it would be insane to make it insufferable to play in a raiding environment as a deterrent rather than just balancing it, especially with the target audience for a support class will be doing normal and heroic pugs and will be the audience affected. Okay, and then one of the very first things they did was they changed the... and I don't know what exactly it is now. I haven't been able to test it, but they've made it so if 2 Ebon Mites are already active on an ally, Ebon Mite will now seek a nearby ally with fewer than 2 Ebon Mites, and then Ebon Mite's priority to apply to other Aug Evokers has been reduced and will apply to other damage-dealing roles first. So it looks like Aug Evoker is still above healer, but below all other DPS, which again will just make Aug Evoker infinitely less annoying, especially before people get the new tier in a lot of those raids, certainly in these raids too. I think in general, just nerfing from 4 Augs to 2 Augs makes Aug Evoker raids infinitely less annoying just by default, but I think that's a change that's good. In fact, I would argue that they should even be below healers. It is still more valuable to give a healer Ebon Mite than it is an Aug Evoker. Just like they're just getting more power from that than an Aug is. So really good. I wasn't the only person to give them that complaint, but I'm glad that got taken care of. So 2 presences are all that can be on an ally, none can be added, and then there's actually a big change. So the whole like evokers being able to stack to 2 is a nerf, but then there's a big one. When casting presence on an enemy selected, its priority to apply whatever. Okay. Shifting Sands will now prefer to apply to an ally who does not already have Shifting Sands. This is fucking fat. So the meta and the extremely cringe positioning around this was getting the person in the raid who is doing the most damage at any given point in time not only to have 4 Ebon Mites, but to get like 4 Shifting Sands if possible. It was really hard to pull off, and it was super fucking... it's just insane. Like, it was impossible for them to scale multiplicative scaling, and I think them nerfing this and even still keeping an eye on it is really smart, because when you're talking about the issue with balancing Aug Evoker, right? It is... We've talked about it a million times, right? It is impossible in its previous design to make Aug Evoker good for the target audience of a support class and not absolutely fucking insanely broken for the best people who play this game, right? The more coordinated teams. And then, on the contrary... if you balance it for us, it will be terrible for the people who this class is designed for, right? This is a huge step in that direction because the multiplicative scaling and the coordination required around it would be just the biggest fucking Gapperton of all time. Like, top teams would be able to somewhat pull this off and other people would not, and the value of this class would be so fucking weird because of it. Would have been a huge problem. This alleviates the fuck out of that. This is a great change. So really happy that they did this, for sure. Okay, let's see. I don't know if this matters. Trembling Earth will now allow buff stacks to overlap. With presence having 2 charges now a case where you want this to cast twice in a row to alleviate that. Okay, cool, whatever. All right, on to Hunter. So fix an issue where several talents or set bonus effects have modified damage dealt or critical damage dealt did not properly affect the damage of the poison injection talent. Bonus pets now spawn on top of your target rather than by your side. That sounds actually... I don't know if this really matters, but that sounds nice. Like, if I'm a BM Hunter, that like sounds good, so they don't have to like run, you know? Okay, some fixes with survival. Let's look at Mage. Fixed a bunch of issues. Can probably move on from that. 4-set bonus. The stagger absorb value is capped at 100% of your max health. I'm not even familiar with what the 4-set does for Brewmaster. I haven't played it on PTR. I know Brewmaster is extremely powerful in the PTR. Can you, Brewmasters, tell me if this is significant or minor? It's pretty big, so somewhat significant. Oh, interesting. So there's two parts of this. So they bug fixed the tier set to make it weak, and then they also nerfed it. Interesting. Okay. Mistweaver, Rising Sunkick is now granted by default. Interesting. So they got like an extra... What is... Actually, wait. What does that change for them? Let's see. Is that just a class tree point? So now, like when you look at Mistweaver on PTR, they get Rising Sunkick and Soothing Mist. So just one class tree point. No one's going to be upset about that. Location of Healing Elixir and Zen Pulse on their spec tree has swapped. The starter build has been... That doesn't matter. Fix an issue that... I don't care about that. Okay. Prop Paladin. Fixed an issue where this class was designed for you to stand in your Consecrate all the time. Oh, that's great. Oh, wait, that's not what it says. Fuck. It needs to say that bad. This is probably an expansion change, but we are in an expansion where they are making changes that normally happen only on expansion release, but they're happening all expansion. They're just putting out more content. They're making more big changes. It's absolutely true. Bro, the Prop Paladin mastery tier sets and anything that incentivizes them to be in their Consecrate is fucking dog shit gameplay. It's terrible. It has to be changed. Anyways, on to Priest. Surge of Insanity now triggers from every 2 casts of Devouring Plague with 3. The shadow rotation slowed down more than we were intending from our changes earlier this patch, and we've seen similar feedback from the community. We maintain our goal to reduce how busy the shadow rotation is, so we're not reverting Surge of Insanity to its Fury Incarnate State, and instead reducing the cast required. We're also increasing the insanity generated from the associated spells to further distinguish the power. Okay, I'm not familiar with Priest, but this line sounds good. Mind Spike Insanity now generates 8 insanity. Okay, so buff to Mind Spike Insanity generation, buff to Mind Flay Insanity generation, and now tier piece bonus changes. Additional Shadower deaths from the set bonus are now triggered at 20% effectiveness, was 35. Okay, massive nerf. Additional Shadower deaths from the set bonus now deal reduced inescapable torment damage. Okay, nerf from that interaction. Forset now increases the initial damage of Shadower Pain by 200% per stack, was 250. Pretty big nerf. And now increases the initial damage of Shadow Crash by 100% per stack, was 50. Okay, so buffed AoE Shadow Crash from upfront damage, nerf Shadow Pain, and nerf the fuck out of this. What is it? Okay, the priests are spamming. Let me catch up. You now want to Shadow Crash in single target. Oh my god. The good part of that is it's going to make your stacked cleave feel better because you're like pressing an AoE button on single target. Generally speaking, when that's true, you're one of the classes in the game that's like super sick at doing both of those at the same time, i.e. Mythic Plus. But that sounds bad. That sounds not fun. I'm sure it's... yeah, I've seen the Shadow Priest dooming, so I'm sure it's hard to tell, though. I'm going to be real. Can I be honest for a second? Priest, it's a little hard to tell when it's actually really bad. You know what I mean? Because it kind of just seems like it's always really bad. You know what I mean? All right, Rogue Assassination. Exsanguinate renamed. Holy shit. Envenom damage increase, Kingsbane increase, indiscriminate carnage, secondary targets now prioritizes rogues. I thought I read this before. It's a good change, though. It's not the 2 or 4 piece, I guess. This is the 4 piece, I think. It now deals reduced damage beyond 5 instead of 8. Okay. I still feel a little bit weird about Assassination, but I need to play it more to really know. I don't know a lot of things about Outlaw, so I probably won't read too much into this. Let me see if there's anything here I recognize. Did they ever fix it to where the weird Outlaw thing happens? Like, did they ever fix it to where you like had that really shitty gameplay of getting the best buff and then letting your buffs fall off to roll it every time? The rolls are fixed? That's good. That's good. Wait, the gameplay loop of the fun build was nerfed and also the damage numbers for the same build? Yeah, nerfing gameplay loop is not fun for sure. Although Blizzard always has to deal with this, and I don't think they need to do this to every class, but sometimes if the gameplay loop is genuinely too hard, they want to avoid that. Like, they've had really, really, really hard specs in this game before, but if there's ever something where they feel like the gameplay loop is fun, but it's like almost no one can attain it, like the casual Outlaw player cannot do this, they will usually reduce the complexity of it a little bit, and sometimes that comes at the cost of it being less fun. I have no idea if that's what they did here, but I don't know. When I was playing Outlaw, it was fucking sick. That sounded so fun. It was fun. Yeah, Count the Odds is very interesting. Yeah, so it was obviously nerfed, the proc rate, but being triggered by Sinister Strike is really interesting. Fix them. Yeah, you're exactly right. Outlaw can have alternate builds, though. Yeah, I think the best example of this ever was Demon Hunter. So for most of BFA and Shadowlands, both Blind Fury, Demonic, and Momentum were competitive. And most of the time, if Momentum was slightly better, Blind Fury was like very, very relevant and good. So if you ever wanted to play easy, this is old momentum, keep in mind. If you ever wanted to play easy as fuck Blind Fury, you weren't even griefing. So like there was no complaining, or I mean, there's always gonna be complaining, but it would have been infinitely worse if you just had to play something that was like a little bit too difficult for a lot of players. There's a lot of noobs in this game, and any game. Shadow Strike changed a little bit. Cool. LA Shaman. Primordial Wave now caused your next 2 Lava Burst casts to strike extra targets. Was 3. And I'm assuming they fixed it to where all those Lava Bursts don't just go into your main target. Yeah, I don't know. It's going to feel really weird on LA, to be honest with you. Like, LA is in such a weird spot. Like, I feel like every single text for LA Shamans and Resto Shamans that does not include, here's something that puts you in the raid, it's just going to feel omega bad that you're the only class in the game that has to actually win the DPS lottery of every class in the game, by the way, not just a few others, to actually be brought to any content. Very strange. So they're not going to want to hear it until that's fixed. I'm okay with there being, like, not everyone needs to have a spot, but like, now that you're ramping in this direction of everyone having a spot, you can't just leave one out. It's crazy. So chain heal increase. I mean, that's probably not bad. I don't know how much they're chain healing at the moment, especially with their new tier piece, but I mean, it reads like a pretty big healing increase. I'm pretty sure Resto Shamans are probably still down tremendous though. Warlock Demo. Caustic Presence is doing exceedingly well in single targets. I don't want to read any of this shit. Buff some stuff. Here's what I'll tell you. I'm not going to read any of this garbage because I don't know what these words mean. But I saw some Warlock damage meters, and it's looking real good. So, again, maybe the gameplay is still trash, but seemed really good. Call THD. Yeah, we'll call THD in a minute. Warrior Arms. Just a general damage increase. Interesting. That's it? Does this show that they're kind of in the tuning phase? Before, it seemed like they were in, like, the purely design phase, but this is the first thing I've read where they were just like, okay, this class isn't doing enough damage. What this tells me is next week you're going to see a million patch notes like this in a bunch of different directions. Or in the next few weeks. I mean, the patch is coming out in not too long, right? Like a little bit more than a month, so it's going to happen sooner. I don't know what this change means. Okay, items. Great Vault. The Mythic Dungeons row has been renamed to Dungeons. Guys, that's not a fucking leak. I've been saying that I think that the raid has been coming out for months right after BlizzCon. So either on the 7th or the 14th. Both of those would be true with what I just said. All right. The Mythic Dungeons have now been renamed to Dungeons. Heroic, Mythic Zero, and Time Walking Dungeons now unlock rewards in the Dungeon row. These draw from the same rewards pool as Mythic Plus with lower item levels. Time Walking Dungeon runs count as Heroic. Great change. So this won't affect a lot of people who play the game at a high level. If you are using the vault for like really high level stuff, this completely doesn't affect you, but it's very, very good for casual players. There's a lot of people who don't want to interact really with Mythic Plus, and that row of their vault was just been a void forever. And it's really nice for, I mean, it's just not bad. There's just literally no way you can complain about this. There's zero chance. Like, there's nothing you could ever do where this could make you mad. It is just good for some people, doesn't affect other people negatively. It's good for alts, good for casuals. Nothing wrong with this. All good. Okay. Professions. The following embellishments have been nerfed by 35%. Frostfire Belt, Fang Adornments, Slimy Expulsion Boots, Toxic Thorn Foot Wraps. Okay, they got some popular ones in here. Acidic Hailstone Treads, Magazine of Healing Darts, Playful Spirits First Set, Shadow Flame, Tempered Armor. Wow, so they were just like, you guys know all the embellishments you're using this patch? They fucking suck. Did they not nerf Spore Cloak? Huh. I mean, honestly, Spore Cloak being good and what people are wearing is actually probably good for the game. Like, I think it's not good design, but... No, I know they nerfed it a couple weeks ago, but it's still really good. Yeah, like, I meant again, yeah. Unless this is something I missed. Like, it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago they nerfed Spore Cloak, but it's still very good. They, like, buffed its verse value, but nerfed when it... Yeah. So what this tells me more than anything is that they're definitely just, like, leaning you in towards the new embellishments in the next patch, but... I don't really know the reason behind that. I'm assuming it's that. And then PvP changes. Holy shit. Tainted Rage Heart Absorb reduced by 50%? No way, bro. Oh, it looks like they're just nerfing all the trinkets. Fuck yeah, baby! Updated the following PTR note. Shooting stars have been increased by 15. What? What? Cool. Let's update our tier list. All right, this is as of last week. I feel like more happened to Warrior than I expected because I was seeing a lot of dooming this week on Warrior, and their only note, DPS Warrior, and their only note was arms got buffed.
Did they like fix a bug or something or some interaction that they didn't mention here that made Warrior a lot worse? Or is it still just dooming from the Fury changes? Arms is fundamentally broken and Fury is bad. Okay, that sounds pretty bad. Okay, let's go ahead and do this. So Demon Hunter is back in the feeling real good. It seems like the changes today for Demon Hunter were nothing but positive from the people that I've heard from. So we're going to keep them in feeling real good. If they can pull it together in the next couple weeks and like really get them hyped about it, we can move them up to Found God, but they're feeling real good. Also, random thought. I was talking with Randy at Blizzard yesterday, who's one of the community managers. Super, super awesome guy, by the way. And he was telling me that, I forget if it's his daughter or son's like 5th or 6th grade class, when they do tier lists, their bottom row is Swamp Ass. And it's because he watched that on my stream, and I don't know exactly how that happened. He said it was his fault and he was the bad influence, but like he was doing that. So I really doubt their top row was quadruple D, but he did say that the bottom row was Swamp Ass, and I thought that was really funny. Okay. So, okay, Havoc staying up there for sure. Vengeance, probably still staying up there. Just the power's increased a lot, and it looks like it's getting a lot of posts every week. I imagine there's going to keep being more. Probably can skip past that. This balanced druid change is interesting. So they made a bunch of changes last week to like some positioning, and this week they just straight up are buffing their power of shooting stars and Star Surge. I'm wondering if a Moonkin would be able to confidently tell me that they're feeling real good now. This is like some word on the street. I'm sensing some optimism from Moonkin players in general. So I think I might have missed moving them up last week, but for now we'll just move them up in good changes a little bit. But also Moonkins will never tell you they're good when they are, so it's really hard to tell. Oh, actually, could they be could you make the argument that Moonkins are feeling real good and it has nothing to do with tuning and it has everything to do with the new Moonkin forms and animations? I could actually see that. I think they care a lot about that. Moonkins look funny as fuck, but we'll allow one of them to actually make that decision. Okay, Guardian, still think, I mean, Dorky put it and got absolutely fucked. I still think that was a little Dobby, so like it's probably more likely and feels bad. I actually like the new tier set design of the rage spent rather than the damage and healing. But I'm just going to leave it here because I feel like their rage in smaller target situations need to be buffed, and I would like their rage to not be capped at 5, but yet be capped at 8. And I do think it being capped is good because I think it's impossible to balance the class if they scale that high with extra mobs. So we'll leave it there. Augie. So you would think that Augmentation Evokers are going to be feeling worse, right? Because, well, I mean, they kind of just had their value reduced in raid, but I'm going to say that this is actually a buff to Aug Evoker and the whole game. I think there's no one who should be upset by this. If you guys have any idea how fucking annoying it would have been to play multiple Augmentation Evokers and feeling forced to, and I'm not talking about everyone, I'm talking about the Augmentation Evokers, right? That was going to be awful to play. Our Evokers have hated our practice of four Evokers off stream. Like, it has taken the fun out of the game for them. That would have happened to all of you as well. So I think this is a fucking gotta be feeling great. Technically nerfed, but nerfed in the least cringe way possible. Or I guess an unnerfed version of this would have been unbelievably cringe. So if you're an AUG, you are insanely happy to see this change. Okay, could probably move past that. Hunter. So I did get a message. So we moved BM up to the bottom of feeling real good last week because BM's just feeling really good on PTR. The changes have been nice, and this change was actually really great today. Maybe we'll move them up one more, or like 2 more. But Azertharian did message me this morning, and he said, "Can I request to move MM to the lowest tier? Its set bonuses combined is 2.5% single target, and the RNG nerf was an enormous nerf. Feels bad is simply too high, even with the raid buff." Okay, so according to Azertharian, Hunter is going all the way to the bottom to somehow it got worse. So MM down in the depths, even with them getting a raid increase, this class needs God. Or even worse than that. It needs more than that. Probably needs multiple gods, whoever your god is. And probably nothing else here moves around. Mage... these look just like some issues, some like really minor things, but I'm going to assume that they're staying pretty much where they are, which is eh. Wait, I'm interested that Mage didn't move up from eh. I feel like we put Mage in eh when, oh no, it was in Feels Bad, and then they made the tier set Arcane Missiles actually own an AoE. So I feel like that's why we moved them there. There wouldn't be a big reason to move it up to good changes yet. You're just feeling okay, which is kind of crazy that 2 of these mage specs are feeling okay. You know what's funny? They did a break the meta thing at some point, and they always have like the worst spec of mage on there, but it's so funny that the worst spec of mage is always like so good. So probably leave mage where it is. Brewmaster, I think, is actually... I would need to hear from Brewmasters, but I heard they bug fixed your tier set and they capped it. So they like nerfed it and bug fixed it at the same time. Well, is the bug fix you're talking about the fact that it was working on all fire damage and not just your own? Is that what you're talking about, where they bug fixed it? Because I feel like that was obviously going to happen. The question is, if you're a Brewmaster, are you like going down a tier? That's my thought. It was double dipping on verse and crit. Okay. I'm not seeing a lot of strong it goes down. Maybe there's not enough Brewmasters here. Yeah, I'll just call Dratnos and see if he picks up. Hello?
Yo.
Hey, I need some help, so I had to call an expert.
All right, what's up?
So previously I had like a tier list going of how all the classes were feeling from the changes, and Brewmaster was like at the very bottom of like a really high tier of feeling real good. This was like a couple weeks ago. Do you think with the change to the tier piece and then the bug fix they did, in your mind would move it down a tier, or do you think they still stay up there?
I still feel really good about Brew. I would keep him up there, I think.
All right, that's all I need. Thanks,
All
Doc.
right.
Thanks, Doctor.
Have a good day.
Yep. Okay, so Mistweaver has been in the very top of good changes, I think, after the changes last week. Now you get +1 class tree point. I don't think +1 class tree point would be enough to put like almost anyone up a level. Actually, that's not true. There are some class trees that are like so restricted. Like I'm thinking of DK. Like +1 class tree point would be fucking great. And the monk one is just so cringe. Because a lot of the times in content, you can't even like... Dude, I actually hate this about the monk class tree. You don't even feel like you can even take cool things in it. Because you're going to take all your defensives. You have to spend 4 points on group buffs. Or else you're trolling. Or there's another monk in the group and you can each take 2. And then you just... I don't know. Everything about... Monk needs so much work on their trees. But anyways... Let's see. Fix an issue that caused tier of the morning. Actually, wait. Interesting thought here. If you guys are in a raid and there are 2 monks, I need your all's input here. Okay? It doesn't matter what spec you are. Do you have one monk take 2 points in Generous Poor and the other one take 2 points in Close to Heart? Or do you alpha the other monk and make them take all 4 so you can take whatever you want? You make the Mistweaver take all 4. You guys are so fucked up, man. Y'all just hate healers. You don't even know why you hate them. You've just hated them for so long that it's just part of you. Okay. Prop Paladin. I'm willing to put Prop Paladin down 1 rank every single week until they get rid of this Consecrate garbage. I'm objective decision. As long as the Mastery or any kind of standing in Consecrate is part of the class, this is just going to go down 1 every week. And we might have to make 50 rows under this if it happens next year's. But that happens next year, but that's what we're doing. All right. Well, I don't think it's changing. Yep, then we're going down. All right, Priest. Surge of Insanity now triggers from this. Okay, so again, all this combined, Priests sound very upset. So Priest were in got absolutely fucked, but now they press Shadow Crash on single target and they got nerfed. So it'd be interesting to put it in this class needs a rework bad. Because I feel like Shadow Priests at this point are actually like scared of reworks because they keep happening and not being exactly what they want. So Shadow Priests might need God. Yeah, we'll put it there with Fury Warrior. It's a cry for help. Rogues, they're all feeling great, right? You're feeling nice. You're getting reworked. You're gonna be awesome. You know what? We will do a rogue talk at one point, and then we'll actually like closer to the patch, and we'll accurately put these somewhere because they are not all built the same. We're just still operating under the, there's no way you can't be feeling real good if your class is getting reworked, which has proven to be very accurate. So, okay. Elemental Shaman, again, you could argue that Elemental and Resto just keep going down 1 every week until they get a raid buff. They did get a slight nerf here to their 4-piece, but I don't know if that enough is to move them down to Feels Bad. But I'm going to do it just because they don't have anything that puts them in the group now. It's so strange that you bring 1 shaman to every raid, but it's locked behind a specific spec. But there's no easy solution. It isn't give Wind Fury to the other 2 classes. Like actually, I don't know why this is the case for me. For some reason, in my head,
pressing Wind Fury and keeping Wind Fury down as an elemental shaman sounds absolutely miserable, but I don't really mind it that much as enhance. I think that's because as enhance, you put it down, and then it kind of just automatically follows you with a good totemic projection macro. Whereas Ellie, you would have to like project it onto the melee. But I don't know why that feels... It just feels like it would feel way worse as a caster, but yeah. Max, the nerf is P big, even if it looks not bad. We're also buggy as fuck, meaning we will lose more DPS. Plus our playstyle is kind of stinky, and our spec tree needs a rework. Okay, that definitely feels bad. Next week, if you still don't have something that puts you in the raid, we'll let you get fucked. You know what I mean? Yo. Moving down. Demo. So Demo was moved from... Like, it was here, and then it got worse, and then it got better. So it's going to be really hard to rate Demo, because Demo is, as far as I can tell, doing a lot of damage, but the playstyle, at least recently, has still not been very good at all. But I'm going to call THD and see if he's awake. Hello?
What's up? What's going on?
I was wondering if you had any thoughts on the Demo changes, and if they move up or down or not.
It's about the same.
Okay.
They basically moved some shit around, you know. They like buffed the talent that's dead. They made the tier set 150% better, but in doing so, they probably bugged it out, and it does like 40% of your damage. So it's broken, but it's bugged.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, so if you buff the tier set by 150%, it goes from doing 2% to like 4%. So not bad.
That is good. But
it's currently doing 40%, so it's bugged.
Okay, it's doing 40% of your damage?
I think the buff was 1500%.
Oh, they added a 0 on it. Classic.
Yeah.
All right.
Well. Oh, and the Destro changes. Yeah. So the cooldown sucked ass. It does 50% more now, so it sucks less ass.
Does that make it go up a level, though?
No, because...
You're such a doomer. You're a huge doomer.
Dude, okay, have you seen what that cooldown does?
Nah.
Okay, well then don't speak.
Oh, well, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Get those THD ASCII spams in the chat. I have no response to that. Holy fuck.
Yeah, that cooldown don't do shit, man. That thing got buffed by 50%. All right, cool. I might do 1k more DPS during burst. Not bad.
I love the fucking ASCII spam. That's so good. All right, that's all I needed. Thanks, bud.
No problem.
See ya. Fucking don't speak, fucking peasant. All right, so Warlock stays the same. And then what do we got? We have arms increased by 6%. And arms is like, where was arms at? It was down here. It was an and it got buffed by 6%. But the vibe I'm getting from Warriors, I can't tell if it's like combined dooming from both of their specs not feeling awesome. But like, it does not sound like they're feeling Like, it sounds like they're feeling a lot worse than But they just got buffed, so it'd be weird to like see them get a 6% buff and then move them down. But it seems like they probably should have been down here anyway. It sounds like really, really not fun to play. And Fury's like even worse. Like, we're at the point where Fury's in such a bad spot that them not saying anything almost just makes it worse. Like, you're just like, how on earth is this not being addressed right now? I can feel that. Wow, so for the first time ever, a class is getting an objective buff and is just being moved down because we were wrong about it before. All right, sounds good. Oh, this is good. We could actually move Windwalker up to feeling real good because this mythic dungeon change where you now only have to do time walking dungeons to fill it up will actually affect a lot of the Windwalker player base as they won't get invited to anything else. It's a pretty good buff for them, at least up a few levels. I probably could have used a better class for that bit because Windwalkers still somehow are always a good dungeon class. Okay. Dude, I feel the exact same way that Evade feels about Demon Hunter with Windwalker. Here's what he said. There's still a lot of stuff you're forced to take due to pathing reasons and tier set reasons, which makes things less interesting. But again, as long as I can avoid the unfun talents and can take the fun talents, then I think the spec is solid. I feel the exact same way about Windwalker. Windwalker is like, if you take the best version, regardless of their damage, actually not regardless, doing huge damage is definitely nice, but like, if you just take the most fun version of this talent tree, this class is insanely fun. But like, if there's a few things you take that just feel like shit and they're currently good, so you just, it's not fun to play because of a few buttons.